It's low key. Let's talk about Louis C.K. This is reported by Vulture.com. Two women describe Louis C.K.'s uncomfortable comedy cellar set. Bear with me, bear with me. All right. As the New York Times reported, when Louis C.K. took the stage for a surprise set at the Comedy Cellar Sunday night, he was met with applause. The short set was his first appearance after he released a statement in November admitting to sexually harassing 5 women following a New York Times expose. Two women who sat through CK's set told Vulture that though the small venue's audience was overwhelmingly supportive of the comedian, one joke about rape whistles was uncomfortable, and that there seemed to be a divide between how men and women reacted to CK's presence. The women were at the Comedy Cellar that night to see another comedian on the lineup when CK appeared on stage after a brief introduction from the night's MC. It felt like he was being thrust upon the audience without telling them. One woman who was asked to remain anonymous told Vulture the audience was very loud when Louis C.K. walked in. They were clearly supportive and surprised when he showed up, but there was a number of women sitting in the front row. The woman said, from her seat to the left of the stage, she could see a pair of women sitting stone-faced. Her friend, who asked to be identified with the initials SB, noticed the same reaction. There were at least 4 to 5 females that I could see, and 3 or 4 of them were not having it. They were just looking at him, deadpan, straight, not having it. SB said the audience was mostly white with tons of couples, both women. Both women say the set was awkward, but the first woman was particularly upset by it. It was an all-male set to begin with. Then it sort of God, shit. The sad part is I know how to say this word, but my brain not letting me. Exacerbated. Fuck it. By CK's presence, she said, if someone had heckled him, I think they would have been heckled out. It felt like there were a lot of aggressive men in the audience and very quiet women. It's the kind of vibe that doesn't allow for a dissenting voice. You're just expected to be a good audience member. You're considered a bad sport if you speak out. After CK's set, Comedy Cellar owner Norm Dorman said the comedian showed up unannounced and he didn't know about the surprise set until later. Dorman told The Hollywood Reporter that he'd only received one email complaining about CK's set, but that the comedian received a real ovation according to audio he heard after the fact. The women agree that CK's reception was warm, with one man shouting that it was good to have CK back. SB recalled that the applause at the end of CK's set was a bit quieter than the beginning. I was actually surprised personally how his exit round of applause compared to his entrance round of applause, he said. It was way quieter for sure. There was a huge difference in that volume or in the number of claps. The women say CK's set was similar to his usual material and included a joke about the phrase clean as a whistle, which built up to a joke about how rape whistles are not clean. What the fuck? When he said rape whistle, people hold on. When he said rape whistle, people were laughing. And I was just sitting there like, oh my fuck. This is so uncomfortable and so disgusting. Everyone around me was laughing. That was just depressing. CK hasn't commented on his appearance, but Dormus said the outrage over his return shows that it's a dark period for disclosure in this country. The woman told Vulture that it was tense to watch CK make jokes in a room so obviously welcoming of him. You hear this big, loud guy sitting next to you yelling, "Oh, it's so great to have you back, Lewis," and people cheering and giving him a standing ovation. She said, "Our voice is definitely not going to be prioritized in that space." Dorman says, "We can't have a disclosure properly." How do you think the women in the room felt? It's just really frustrating. Oh, shit. Let me see. Pretty much it was Louis C.K. returning to stand up for the first time since his sexual conduct admission. Let me hop up in these comments, see what the people are saying. This person goes to say, he was quoting what the female said. It felt like there were a lot of aggressive men in the audience and very quiet women. It's the kind of vibe that doesn't allow for a dissenting voice. He responds saying, "Yeah, well, you'll never know since you chose to passively sit there so you could play the martyr. Now, courageously, Louis C.K. Surprise comedy set survivor." This person says, question: if what Louis C.K. is accused of and has admitted to doing, and if it's no big deal, why doesn't he ever do the same thing on stage? He talks about whacking off all the time, but obviously doing so in public is still not acceptable. Louis C.K. knows this behavior is not acceptable, which is why he denied having exposed himself to women for so many years. I'm not reading that shit. This person says the tide is turning on these hysterical women and the Me Too movement. A good many of these so-called victims are in it for the attention and a flagging career. This is the last comment I'm gonna read. This person says showing up unannounced was the problem here. He should have announced it or left it undeclared, but done the reveal an hour or so before the show. In general, if you don't like the show, you can walk out. The big question that is being ducked is that a lot of people, possibly mostly men, don't think that CK was anywhere close to Weinstein and him losing his TV shows. The movie and the public humiliation were sufficient penance. The NYT story made it clear that when someone declined his offer, then he did not expose himself to them. So the whole narrative against him seems forced and overly moralizing. Yes, he has a creepy sexual fetish, but he did not force himself on anyone. If he has cost someone their careers, then in that case, it's not been made public, and more importantly, should be made in a court of law to seek damages. Speaking just of comedy, I think we might be reaching a stage where the genders might just have to split up to watch comedy shows. A lot of guys I know could not take the whole preachy Ninit special, and most women will probably find guys like CK unwatchable. Maybe a movie for date night is better for all. This person says everyone, not just men, thinks that Weinstein and CK are in different classes. That doesn't make CK's actions no big deal. No one's prosecuting him like they are Weinstein. This person says comedy is not petty, Steve Martin. This person says, as a survivor of a home invasion by a stranger who threatened to kill me, and came back a few nights later before being arrested. I don't need anyone on here telling me I'm not sympathetic enough to women. But I fought back and I encourage other women to fight back, not sit there and be offended. This person says uncomfortable. What an absurd remark. Comedy is supposed to make people uncomfortable. I suppose they didn't go just to be able to complain about being triggered and suffering microaggressions. No clue no clue whom they were seeing, of course. This person says, I get that people were uncomfortable and that's fine, but a comedy act is not the place to make your displeasure known either. Heckling him would not have helped anything. If you wanted to show your displeasure, walk out during his set, but shouting someone on stage down because you disagree with them is shitty. All right. Man, I got a fucking headache right now from reading all this shit, bro. I ain't even gonna lie to you. But apparently Louis C.K. his first goddamn stand-up back, he's already coming back with rape jokes. God damn it. Let me see. Oh God. Louis C.K. did not tread lightly in his first stand-up gig since admitting his sexual misconduct because he reportedly cracked a joke about rape whistles. Remember, C.K. copped to dropping his pants and masturbating in front of women and even coercing them into keeping silent about it. So at least 2 female audience members at the Comedy Cellar in NYC were shocked to hear him start a bit about the phrase clean as a whistle. They were uncomfortable and depressed that CK's joke had killed, especially considering the things he's admitted doing. This is a clip of Marlon Wayne saying that he's just pretty much, I can't play it because I get flagged, but he's just pretty much saying that, it's been a while since CK, was on stage, and they're saying that comedians, they need the stage, they need to get up there and vent. Marlon Wayne told TMZ he doesn't have any issues with CK returning to stand up, although not everyone in the comedy world agrees. God damn. This person says Louis C.K. is a perverted creep. He needs to be blacklisted. He isn't even funny. He closes with punching a clown. He should stick with more what's the deal with airline peanuts kind of jokes. More left-wing trash supported by left-wing trash. So it's a lot of fuck shit going on in TMZ comments. This person says Louis did some pervy things and he paid a high price. He lost his TV show, movie, countless millions of dollars in bookings. He apologized, showed remorse. What else can he do? Can we all move on now and let the guy get on with his life? I can't wait to hear his material on the incident. I'll read one more comment. I'm gonna slide up out of here. This person says, well, if 2 people don't like it, then it's wrong. And yet Harvey Weinstein is still walking around free as a bird. He obviously learned nothing and will be reoffended. And will reoffend. I'm sorry. He obviously learned nothing and will reoffend. I hope the next victim sends him to jail. What an egomaniac to have zero sensitivity to his issues. And this person says, no one cares. Internet outrage is nonsense. We live in the age of outrage. Bars. That's dope. We live in the age of outrage. It's a bar right there. So, family, hop up in the comments. Let me know what you think. Um, was it too soon? Was it too soon for Louis C.K. to come back with a rape joke or a rape whistle joke the first time he stepped back on stage? Should comedians completely stop making rape jokes altogether? Or is it just should it not be taken so seriously? Should people stop being so sensitive, and should you just go there as far as go to a comedy show and just laugh? Hop up in the comments, let me know what you think. Hit that like, hit that dislike button. Either way, it's all love. And that's it, family. It's low key.